within the last 10 years, the knowledge and the understanding of the relationship between soil, plant, food, microbes has only intensified. Of course, we've known these things, but to apply it to our plant has exploded. So
it was looked at as like hippie talk before.
But it's inevitable that the average Joe will know this information, is kind of what I'm just trying to say. It's just going to take time.
And I would argue that humans have been around for 250,000 years, but plants have been around for 250 million. And they've been doing this with microbes. They know that this is how they became into existence. Was they never had anyone taking care of them besides microbes. So regardless of whether we like implement it or not, like they have that 90% of all plant species have a relationship with the mycorrhizal fungi. It's like, do we need to be adding them because they are everywhere? You're breathing. I mean, we have equal parts bacterial DNA in us. Like if you were to count our DNA compared to bacterial and yeast DNA, we have more microbial DNA in us than human. So it's like, does it really matter what we know because the plant knows and it's already using it? It's like, I guess, like if you're buying products, sure. I don't really buy products with microbes necessarily unless it's for a specific reason. Like I said, like Bacillus subtilis for powdery mildew, or botrytis, or trichoderma for the same thing, or Bacillus thuringiensis kurtaski for caterpillars. Like there are specific microbes that do something and they have a role in this world that they have done for millions of years. And so just understanding a little bit of that science will save you money and not make you reliant on the system that wants you to buy chemicals because you have to keep buying it. Some of these microbes, you introduce it into your environment, they're there. Like, that's it. You don't have to keep buying it and keep applying it. So like...
I think maybe I misunderstood your question. You asked it in regards to microbes and marketing, whether or not can you just rephrase it? Can you rephrase what
so specifically, my question is with being fungally dominant, preferring a fungal dominant soil compared to a bacterial dominant soil. I have a hard time with that marketing because I just don't see like the science behind it wanting more fungal dominance than bacteria was my...
And see, that's where I'm saying, I think it's like, these brands are being like, well, it's just the same argument of Prime claiming electrolytes is their thing. It's like, yeah, but what are the electrolytes? Like specifically, what are you adding into it? It's not beneficial unless you're adding all these other elements in. And so it's like some of these brands are drowning us with buzzwords again that aren't necessarily helping our gardens. I think the bacteria side of stuff is just brands not wanting to maybe dive into that because of containing these things or the cleanliness. Most are running with sterile commercial grows. And they don't really care about us so much. You know, the home grower market is not the same as the commercial market. We kind of feed, like we get the bottoms of it. We'll get the small one bale out of the 100 bales that gets sent somewhere, you know? So it's like, it's different if you're an organic grower, because then you look at it totally differently. You're buying something specific for plants. But when it's like, for example, the soil that says they have more fungi in it, it's not necessarily something that may be that beneficial, I feel. Like to pay more money doesn't make any sense. To say, oh, it also has this. Cool. But yeah, the bacteria, if it doesn't have beneficial bacteria, then it's not as beneficial, in my opinion. It just seems like it's marketing.
And I've fallen for it. I drove like 3 hours to buy 1 yard of fungally dominant soil compost from Elaine Ingham, like soil food web student. And it cost $800 for that 1 yard of compost. And I was just like dumb, and I fell for it. And now after, this is like 10 years ago. And I'm like, is it worth it? No. Is it? I don't think so. I think it's marketing. And it's hard when you have like people that we're looking up to. We're listening to TED Talks from Elaine Ingham. She freaking discovered, quote unquote, the soil food web. And so you're like trusting in that like authority, right? But is it really, when you look at the science, I mean, the only thing that I've been able to see scientifically that would suggest possibly fungal dominance is that fungal dominant soil is slightly lower pH, because bacterial slime raises pH and prefers like somewhat, lower than neutral, like 6.3, 5.8 it can get away with in the soil. So like average crops are closer to 6.5 to 7, like the average perennial. I don't know. I have no idea. Like,
So real, just to beat this with finally this horse with this stick. I because I did misunderstand your question, and I don't think it's an argument in regards to, I think we should all be skeptical of marketing. That's fair. I think that's a fair statement. But could ignorance slightly be applied as well? Because I'm thinking, like, I've only been growing for like almost 20 years, it seems. But it's like, I remember
how old are
when
you?
I'm going to be 40 soon.
Oh, wow, you look good.
Thank you. I get that a lot, and I can appreciate it.
A lot of facials, no diddy.
It's the no beard. I can't grow a beard to save my life. The thing is like, I can remember when calcium and magnesium became like the thing. Like, that was the thing that solved all the problems. I remember when sugars at the end of harvest, where people started to figure out, okay, phosphorus and potassium, huge key. Up until like
carbohydrates.
Up until like the 90s, we were using like Miracle Grow. We were just using time release nutrients. Before that, we were just planting it in the ground and hoping for the best. So it's like, I feel like it's been like an evolution of what mankind has tried to figure out what works great for this plant specifically. And people like yourself, with so much passion and willingness to understand on a microbial and a fungal level, it's like, we need more of that. Like, with all due respect, it took you 10 years after buying an $800 pile of dirt to realize, wait a minute, I can do this way more efficiently and effectively. Now, I mean it with respect, because of course we all have to learn, but it's like, your wisdom and your experience is now going to speed that process up for somebody who's going to be able to figure this out by skipping that process and then focus directly on the thing. So it's like, maybe we just haven't gotten to a point where it's like, okay, maybe microbes aren't as important, but fungus is the importance. Well, we were marketing
fungi.
Oh, yeah. whichever way it is, right?
This is where I think like the nutrient cycling is one thing, but like the aggregation, I think people may be looking at it as like how porous the soil could be. So utilizing that, and when you're sending bales and bales and bales, and I'm thinking more of the pro mixes of the world and the companies that are sending mass production. That one, I think they're putting fungi in there for maybe different reasons versus our plant growth. I guess if there's mycorrhizae, that could be beneficial in that sense. But a lot of people are adding that in with another supplement of some kind. Like, there's so many that both of our products have that. So it's like, you'd think that would be, I guess, maybe the selling point is the mycorrhizae, if anything, the specific what's in there. But yeah, I don't know. It does seem like it's a little bit more marketing, because the people that are being sold to aren't necessarily utilizing soil as their feeding regimen. They're feeding the plant more than they're feeding the soil, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's like a good point of feeding your plant versus feeding your soil, and like really, bringing it back to what's important to you. And so for me, it's like, I am trying to remove myself from the system of being reliant on purchasing something constantly. Like, I want to build up my soil so every year it's better, it's richer. Like 45% of your native soil. And I'm talking about, you said plant directly in the ground. That's what I do. I plant it in the ground, but I build up my soil, because 45% of that native soil is minerals. What are our bottled nutrients? They're minerals. We're putting it back into our mix, because Pro Mix, all of those bag things are organic matter. That's like cocoa coir, peat moss. It doesn't contain the minerals that you would find in the ground. Now, like in the ground, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to release it, right? Like 85% of the phosphorus in our soil around the world is locked up and unavailable to a plant. So it's like, if you're going to grow this way, in the way that I do, then it's like, you have to learn like how to unlock things, what microbes do that. Like, and so it's a completely different growing style versus someone who just wants to, I just want to grow some, and I just want to have it ready, and I want to mix A plus B. And then in a few weeks, I got C, I got coming out, and that's where it comes down to you. What's important to you? What's your lifestyle? And how do you want to grow? There's no right way.
This FTS clip was brought to you by AC Infinity, leaders in garden innovation. Use discount code TheStash15 at checkout to save some money on your order.
from the Stash Podcast.